Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today let's go over the market. Like I said, today is going to be a pretty important and potentially wild day, and it kind of ended up being one after 2 p.m. Eastern essentially. So we'll go over more or less what happened, what we can expect moving forward. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. It would mean a lot if they find these videos helpful, useful, informative, whatever. And of course, none of this is financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own research. But all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, Tesla is closing the day at $181.43, which is putting us up 4.74%. Compared to the market, Tesla pretty much going more or less in line with QQQ. Nothing too, maybe an extremely slight overperformance, but nothing to write home about. Nonetheless, a good performance regardless, with AMD up 12%, almost 13%. That's pretty insane. So, ladies and gentlemen, all that being said, let's just jump right into it. So what happened, what we can expect moving forward, and all that stuff. So like I said, essentially the past couple of days, how I personally, I still thought Tesla had steam left in it, and evidently so, right? Today you can see a lot of people were saying that, it's going to crash, it's going to crash. This is why you have to sometimes ignore the noise, ignore what everyone on the internet is saying. And honestly, if anything, actually don't ignore what everyone on the internet is saying. Because if everyone is saying it's going to crash, it's most likely not going to crash. If everyone is saying it's going to rally and go up to like 900, it's probably not going to go to 900. It's probably going to crash. That's just kind of the idea. But, the point is you have to kind of, see it for yourself, make your own conclusions, and try to, stick to it as hard as it can be sometimes. But nonetheless, Tesla definitely showing some nice strength today. Keep in mind, the volume is a little bit, actually, it's okay. It's not that bad. It was actually a lot lower. I think it spiked up really hard near the end of the day. Nonetheless, though, so again, 2 o'clock, we had the FOMC, the rate hike, right, which was expected. I came as expected, 25 basis points, or in other words, 0.25%. And then we had Jay Powell speaking from 2:30 till almost like 3:30 or like 3:15 or something like that it was. And then the market was essentially rallying all over the place when that happened. You can see we first fell down, and then we rallied up and pretty much rallied all through Jay Powell talking. Now, what does this all mean? Where can we go? Is this the top? Do we still have more room to the upside? Let's talk about it. So I did say how I personally thought, again, Tesla has steam, and I did say how 180 was a very, very important level. And you can see not only did we pass 180, but most importantly, at least for now, again, we need to see follow through. We did close above 180, and we did play out this arguable bear flag that I was talking about the other day right here as well, to the north side, of course, right? So that's kind of, as to be expected, but also as expected, and I did say this before, we are starting to show some signs of bearish divergences, because as Tesla went even higher and has candles closing at higher levels, you can see the RSI in 1 hour is obviously not significantly, but definitely noticeably lower. And on top of that, on the daily, you can see, of course, naturally having a daily closure candle well above these candles in the past right here. For instance, this one right here was our peak RSI, which was essentially about 72.5, where we closed at 178 essentially on the candles. Today, we closed 181.5, obviously higher than 177. However, the RSI you can see is, not substantially lower, but very obviously lower regardless, right? So just keep that in mind. That is, of course, a bearish divergence forming. Now, if Tesla actually does rally all the way up to 200, this will destroy this bearish divergence. I do strongly believe. So if we actually come up all the way up to 200, I do believe that this RSI will actually make a higher high. I do strongly believe that based on how this RSI is currently looking. I do believe it will make a higher high, which is actually not bad for the bulls. That is something the bulls ideally want to see, because it means that this move might be a little bit longer or prolonged a little bit more. However, with that being said, you can see right here, this yellow line right there, that is, of course, the 100-day moving average that I did bring out for us, and the 200-day moving average as well. But I'm actually going to remove the 200-day moving average. I want to change it up with the 50, because the 200 we don't care about right now, mainly because it's just so far away from us that I don't see us touching it anytime soon. So we are above the 50-day moving average, but we are below the 100, which is, of course, not too far above us. Currently sitting at just not too far above $190 per share, about 194 at the moment, which I do expect to be the target, the first target that we go to. Could be the first and major area of resistance where we do get slapped back down, and that ends up being the actual top. Or we can go slightly above it, and I do still strongly believe that 200 will be the main rejection zone. If we break above 200, we'll talk about it as it happens. As of right now, I don't think we will, so I'm not going to think about it too much. But of course, if it ends up coming to it, we will of course revisit and reevaluate. But as it stands right now, I do strongly believe that Tesla, especially with this kind of closure, most likely has, like I said, even back here when we were back in the 160s, most likely has steam to move forward a little bit higher than this. I don't think this is going to be the part that we stop at, but we'll see, because the SPY is looking a little bit suspicious here. So we'll discuss that first, because the SPY has the potential to weigh Tesla down. So we'll see if that ends up happening or not. However, with that being said, and taking away SPY for now and looking strictly at Tesla, it does seem like it has potential to move up based on today's closure. A pretty nice looking, fairly bullish closure. I would definitely closing candle, I would argue that we can move up to this 100-day moving average as high as 200. Now, I said this several times already before. However, if you haven't seen it, or if you want me to revisit it very quickly, if we do go up to 200, roughly, let's say, this not to be exactly 200, it could be somewhere, 195, like for instance, this, 100-day moving average. But, regardless, if we move up to this general vicinity, I do believe that we'll potentially set up a cup and handle, which then, of course, we will most likely have the handle form something like this, which will bring us all the way down to somewhere around, at least in my opinion, 150, if not all the way down to like maybe in the 130s, in my opinion, of course. Then I think from there, the handle will form. And then in theory, of course, assuming the bullish pattern remains and stays intact, we will essentially kind of, like zigzag through this, something like this, and then eventually break out like that, right? That's kind of like the general idea of how it works, essentially also happening to be a bull flag. That is what I currently foresee happening moving into the, future. Like, let's say, for instance, maybe 2 months, 1 month to 2 months down the line from here at the very least, right? That is kind of what I am currently foreseeing. But that to me is the bullish scenario. Now, I know you might be thinking, like, how's that possible to move that far down from in a bullish scenario? Because if we move up, let's say, to this 50-day moving average, I do foresee us dropping about 25% from there, if not maybe more, right? Give or take, on average, about 25%. However, that is, of course, how things work, right? In a bullish scenario, even then, of course, you also have drawdowns and you have zigzags regardless of the direction you're going. But that to me is the bullish situation. However, if the bearish situation plays out, I do believe that we will, or I guess the more neutral situation where it's not really bearish or bullish, I do believe we will come back down to about the 110 to 100 level. And of course, the bearish scenario is if we somehow break the lows over here, we will most likely come down to make new lows, of course, right? That's the bearish alternative. Which one plays out is, of course, we'll see. But the main thing you want to wait for as of right now is for Tesla to make its way to the top. I do believe, even though there is room to the top, the risk versus return for the bulls here is a little bit mediocre, in my opinion, because I don't believe there's that much more room to the upside, right? For instance, best case scenario, I think that's still almost a 10%, which is not bad, but that's, like, in my opinion, at least, realistic best case scenario. I don't think we'll go much higher. However, for the bears, let's say, in theory, from this move right here, I do believe that we can easily fall like 20%. So, even though I do believe there's steam up, I think the risk versus return is definitely not looking that amazing for the bulls as of right this very moment, especially if we have another green day, let's say tomorrow, right? Then it's like really not looking favorable to play, at least in my opinion, just my opinion, of course. Now, taking a very quick look at the SPY, I want to very quickly take a look at this, right? Take a look at the 1 hour, for instance, the SPY. So it's weird. It's kind of on thin ice. So you can see we are in this ascending wedge here, and the SPY did break out and then actually got collapsed right back into this 1 hour, on the 1 hour rather, into this little wedge that we are in, this rising wedge. However, we did close above 410, but that is a crucial level. The fact that SPY went above and closed above 410 is interesting. That's potentially very bullish. Now, we'll see, because you definitely want to see follow through on this. So I'm very curious to see how tomorrow and stuff goes. Facebook reported up 13%, which is great for the market, actually. So I definitely want to see how this forms. I did enter a put, like I said, at 410, pretty much at like 409.8, I think it was, or something like that. But I did exit it as SPY broke 410.5 because it went above this candle back here. I didn't like that, and I exited. Very minimal loss, like literally $30 maybe, I don't know, nothing crazy, of course, right? Because I exited really fast, and then it ended up pushing up even higher all the way to 413. But then I decided to wait to see how it closes. It didn't close in a situation I would like to see for a bearish take, because I would have liked to see it close back under 410. It did not. So I'm personally just waiting on the sidelines for now. All I have right now are essentially my sold calls on Tesla, right? Because I do believe that even if Tesla comes all the way up to 200 or as high as 200, ultimately it will, of course, make its way back down, or at the very least to fill this gap at 144, if not maybe all the way down to this 133, potentially as low as the 122 gap over here. And in my opinion, the potential realistic worst case is this 112 gap fill, which I don't think we will get there, but it's definitely not impossible, and I'm definitely considering that as a possibility. But all in all, guys, that's kind of what I'm seeing as of right now. So let me know what you think down below. The VIX is, of course, just completely falling apart. However, it is at major potential support as well, so we'll see if it actually ends up bouncing. So the market is in a very finicky spot here, where the SPY looks potentially bullish, but it still technically got collapsed back into this little wedge here. It's just barely over 410. Is that enough to continue the follow through or not? Tesla looks like it wants to continue rallying as well, which could make SPY potentially rally to like maybe 415 or so. That's also a possibility. So we'll see where this all of this takes us. It's an extremely delicate situation. The VIX looks ready to bounce, which usually means the market is going to fall. So we'll see, man. The thing that would really convince me though, if you want to, like, if there's something that would really tell me that we're most likely going to reverse in terms of just the market as a whole, is if, let's say, tomorrow the market's green and VIX is also green, that to me would be a pretty major red flag for the market that, you know, it's looking ready to potentially crash. So that's just kind of what I would be also waiting on. But as of right now, I'm not looking to like enter actual, you know, shorts or like puts or anything like that on the market just yet. It's not looking in a place that I would want to enter. I don't feel safe entering, other than just my sold calls on Tesla. But other than that, I am just kind of waiting it out and seeing where the thing takes us and all that stuff. But let me know what you guys think down below. That's all for this video. That is currently what I'm seeing. Again, I do believe that the bulls still have a bit more upside potentially from here, but I do believe the risk versus reward is starting to get very, very low. And I'm personally not, I'm like bullish very short term, but that's about it. Other than that, I am more bearish than bullish, like slightly longer term, I guess, like not really midterm, but like on the longer end of the short term time frame, I guess, if that makes sense, to like midterm. I am definitely more bearish than bullish for now. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it takes us, guys. We see, you know, what this actually happens and forms into. But all in all, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.